Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Baraka the Collector here, coming back to you with probably my most anticipated video of the year. This time, we're going to be talking about the Marvel Legends 2021 Fall Program. This year, it is called the Infinity Saga 10-set series, which consists of all these different figures from MCU movies that they just didn't have enough time to touch on before. Back at Hall H in 2019, San Diego Comic-Con, Kevin Feige announced that, hey, yeah, guys, we're moving into Phase 4, but all that stuff that we just did, those 22, 23 movies that just came out, that's going to be under a label called the Infinity Saga. So then, you know, you got the Hasbro team, they're sitting there, they're looking at it, they're like, huh, Infinity Saga, okay, guys, we have another excuse to go back and get some of these characters that we didn't do before, so I'm always down for more of that. What we're going to be doing today is, unfortunately, I do not have the Infinity Saga Captain America. The last set that I needed was that Captain America, the Walmart exclusive, but if you guys live in the US, you know how Walmart is, you know, it's not very reliable. It was supposed to come yesterday, and I just ended up getting release date pushed back to November, but I told you guys that I'd put this video out sometime in September or something, and I'm not making you guys wait until November, so try to check in whenever, try to turn on my post notification bells whenever that Captain America does get to me. Whenever Walmart does decide to ship that, I will make a separate video for that one. But today we're going to be talking about 9 sets. So we have Iron Man Mark III, Captain Marvel and Rescue Armor, Obadiah, Stane, and Ironmonger, Happy Hogan, and Iron Man Mark 21 meet us. That's Mark 21, right? Yes. Iron Man Mark 85 and Thanos, Surtur, Thor, Endgame, and one left, Odin. Did I already say that? Yeah, a lot of characters. Quicksilver as well. So that's who we're going to be talking about today, and then of course, whenever that Captain America does get to me, I'll make a separate video for that one. So the plan is, this is going to be a very long video, most likely. I'm going to have to edit separate videos together to make this one. Plan is, we are going to start with the Iron Man stuff, and then we're going to go to Quicksilver, and then after that, I'm going to take a trip over to the right side of the shelf, the cosmic side, with Odin and Surtur, and then we will circle around back here at the end of the video where I talk about the 3 endgame sets that came out of this line, and then we'll kind of wrap it up, give some of my final thoughts and everything like that. So yes, so yeah, this is going to be a longer video, and I will leave timestamps where I talk about each individual set, so you know, if you want to be a reg and just skip around to the timestamps because you know, you just don't have enough time to sit here and listen to me talk about toys for close to an hour, then I respect it. But if you want to be my best friend, we can sit here and marathon this together. If you got the time, I got the water to keep my throat, you know, moisturized as I talk about all these articulation points and premium detail and face sculpts and everything. So yeah, let's just get into it. Let's have some fun, ladies and gentlemen, and let's talk about the Infinity Saga. We are going to start with the Iron Man characters. So Iron Man, right? Hasbro, they love Iron Man. We always know that. I feel like Iron Man definitely has the most representation in the Marvel Legends line. I think it's, well, when it comes to the movie figures at least, I think it's just due to, you know, Iron Man being like the most popular superhero almost like of all time. You know, he's a pop culture icon, has been for over a decade now. He just, whenever you think of Marvel, whenever most people think of Marvel, they just think Iron Man, they think Robert Downey Jr., they think also Captain America too, they think Thor, but you know, Iron Man, he's the face of the name. You know, my parents know who Iron Man is. So yeah, so that's just Iron Man and everything, and Hasbro, they really do milk that popularity a lot. They give us a lot of Iron Man figures, but you know what? I always say, you know, you do something long enough, you'll get very good at it at some point. This is a very popular saying over the time in Hasbro. That's definitely... It's definitely the case for Hasbro and their Iron Man, because let me tell you guys something. They really have stepped their game up. We're going to start off by talking about with this Iron Man Mark III. Now listen, ladies and gentlemen. I know that there's going to be people out there who are going to say, oh guys, I already have an Iron Man. We have too many Iron Man now. I don't need another Iron Man. Ladies and gentlemen, listen. This Iron Man, it's a very revolutionary figure, and it's only because of the amount of technology that Hasbro is using nowadays, just how much they've evolved from what they used to do. It's just making Iron Man so much better. This is literally like the blueprint for what a Marvel Legend is supposed to be. Like, I literally just think in my mind, what is the perfect Iron Man Mark III? I don't see how they could have done it any better than this. This figure has, first of all, number one, it's all pinless. You can see something that looks like a pin in this leg down here, but that is actually a part of the suit design. The red on this figure is perfect. It's gorgeous. Here, let me try to turn this down a little bit so you can see some of that red a little bit better. You can see that right there. I actually had to buy two, well, I didn't buy two of these. What happened was I accidentally ended up with two of them. As you can see, the second one right up there. I accidentally ended up with two because I bought one was already shipped, and then I bought another one to try to get free shipping, but then the time that I tried to cancel it, it already shipped out to me. It was too late to cancel. So I ended up with two, and I opened the first one when it got to me. They both got to me on the same day. I opened the first one, and I kept the second one. I'm just like, yeah, alright, I'm about to return it. Open up the first one, pose it around, and I'm honestly blown away by how fun this figure is. It is definitely just, it's just a joy to pose, and it looks fantastic. I put that Iron Man into like 3 poses, and then I figured out that I was in love with everything about it. The design, the sculpt, the detailing, the paint apps, the Robert Downey Jr. face plate sculpt up here, as you can see. It's probably a little bit hard to see from down here as I have you guys a little bit lower down here, but it looks phenomenal. Everything about that figure is just, it's amazing. So I unboxed it, put it into that pose right there, and I just put it up on the shelf, and I'm just like, yeah, I'm not moving it from there. So a day passes, and I'm just like, I really want to play with that Iron Man, but I just don't want to take it off of that pose. I just love how it looks. So then I just look to my side, I see, oh, I have another one. You know what? I kind of don't want to return this. This figure is so great. I kept both, and I have absolutely zero regrets. This figure is magnificent, phenomenal. The articulation on this figure as well blew me away, because as you know, with the Iron Man figures, a lot of them, because Iron Man, he's a very, it's a character design that has a lot of sculpt going into it. It has a lot of very interesting little mechanics and everything about it, and that can really hinder with articulation, as we've seen on this Mark 7 over here. This Mark 7, it's a fantastic figure itself as well, but there's just so much sculpt around the legs, around the neck, around the shoulders and everything. It can kind of, you know, mess up some of that articulation. It can kind of make it a little bit harder to move. That is not the case for this Mark III. The engineering on this Mark III, it's absolutely phenomenal. The way that they managed to take parts of the design, parts of the suit, and implement that into the articulation and just make it look so natural. It is definitely the best Marvel Legends Iron Man movie figure that we have. And it is probably one of the best Marvel Legends that we have, point blank period. I mean, I'm sorry, it really is. You guys need to get your hands on it. If you guys are saying to yourself, you know what, I think I don't really need this Mark III. I have plenty of Iron Man already. I'm just going to skip out on it. Guys, don't do that. Believe me. This Iron Man Mark III, I thought that I'm one of those people who I'm just like, okay, you know what, I only need one of these. I just get all the Marvel Legends movie figures. I'm just figuring, this is going to be another Iron Man to throw up there. He's going to look cool. He's going to look fine. This figure absolutely blew me away with how well it was designed. Even if you do not collect Marvel Legends, even if you do not collect MCU, all you need is just this one figure. It's the most iconic hero in this universe. Get this one figure and then just have it standing there. It's gonna put a smile on your face, bro. Like, if I have 2 of these, guys, you know that I don't like to get multiples unless it's an army builder. I literally have 2 of these standing almost right next to each other, and it does not bother me at all. This figure just looks magnificent. I just have one standing there, one posed, and I love it. And if you get that Iron Man with the Thanos set, you pop off the neck peg on that Iron Man, and you pop off the head, and then you pop off this head on this Iron Man. You put that head on there, it works perfectly. I mean, look at that. That's just awesome right there, man. Yeah, just from head to toe, man. Look at that figure. The way that they can just make some of the articulation points just fit into the suit's design just so naturally like that. That's crazy. That is crazy. Alright, but so yes, Iron Man Mark III. Scale of 1 to 10, I'm going to give it solid 9.5. Actually, no. Scale 1 to 10, I'm going to give it a 10. And I've never given figures 10 before. Like, I actually have never given a 10 to any Marvel Legend besides maybe the Thanos from the Infinity War 3-pack with Doctor Strange and Iron Man. But this figure, I do not see it getting any better. So we're starting off this Infinity Saga strong with the 10 out of 10 figure. This Iron Man Mark III, absolutely phenomenal. Gets the Baraka thumbs up for approval. Everything like that. Go out there and get it, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sure that it is available. A lot of websites. $24.99 on Amazon, I'm pretty sure. Release date in October. Go get that figure. If you see it in stores, buy it. Believe me, you will not be disappointed. It is not just another Iron Man. It is the best Iron Man. It is going to be one of the best figures you have up here. You are going to love it. Believe me, because I loved it enough to get 2. So you're going to love it as well. Next up, we're going to talk about this Monger and Obadiah Stane 2-pack. Now, this is one that was very anticipated for a lot of people. I can't really... Okay, no, that's not really true. I'm one of those people that's just like... Sure, I have wish lists and everything. I have stuff that I hope that's going to come out. But for a long time, I really just never thought that it was ever going to... I really just not that the situation was ever going to arise in which they could revisit the Iron Man 1 movie and give us another Ironmonger. Because at this point, I was getting pretty okay with settling for the horrible one that came out in 2008. I mean, I had it up here for a really long time. Sure, it's out of scale. Sure, it's unproportional. But I'm just like, you know what? Fine, bro. Just whatever. It's fine. And then they announced this set. I think it was back in May. And I'm just sitting over here and I'm just like, whoa, new Ironmonger. That's cool. And then I see the price point, $73.99 USD. And I'm just like, ooh, ooh. I definitely need to see how this thing looks first. I mean, of course I pre-ordered it, but I need to see how this thing kind of looks scaled next to other figures. Because if it's, like, a lot of people are thinking that it's just that Iron Man Monger, or just that Ironmonger repaint, that Ironmonger repainted. And I'm just like, this looks like a new sculpt. I just don't know whether it's going to be worth that $73.99. Ladies and gentlemen, for those of you who are on the fence about this new Ironmonger, let me reach into my bin and pull out my old one real quick. Give me a second, ladies and gentlemen. Because I kind of have this Ironmonger kind of with his legs apart, it's kind of hard to tell. Look at that size difference, okay? This Ironmonger is standing straight up, by the way. This Ironmonger he has his legs spread out, so he's not as tall as he should be. It's kind of your eyes deceiving you. But it really is a stark contrast right there. No pun intended. But yeah, so this old Ironmonger, it's not good. You have this figure. It came out as part of the movie line for Iron Man back, like, what, like 13 years ago. So I'm not, like, mad at it, but you can really see how far they've come in all of this time. This Ironmonger figure has some of the best detailing and sculpt and really articulation for a bigger figure I have ever seen in a while. Let me just start off with saying it is 9 inches tall. So that is no joke. That is for real, like 3 inches taller than your regular average Marvel Legend. I have it standing next to this Iron Man Mark III here, and as you can see, it doesn't look that much taller. But again, have my Ironmonger kind of posed with his legs kind of spread out like this, so you know he's kind of in that like shooting stance. So you don't really get a good look at how tall he is, but proof of reference, 9 inches is about right up here. You can't even see my thumb. Alright, there we go. 9 inches is about right up here. Okay, so that's how much taller he is than the Iron Man. And when I unboxed him and everything, I'm just like, whoa. This figure is awesome. It really is. Because it has... Once again, I have to applaud Hasbro for the engineering on some of these figures, because when you really take into account all of the sculpt and detailing that has to go into the Ironmonger character design, you have all of these different, you know, pistons and gadgets and different pipes and tubes and wires running around in there. How are you going to translate that into something that is 1/12 scale? How are you going to take all of that and minimize it down and still have it move and pose appropriately. As you can see, this Ironmonger has some of the best detailing I've ever seen, but it also moves great. Like, the fact that you can get into these dynamic poses like these makes me very happy with it. It has a great ab crunch, it has some great leg movement. The only thing about it I can really say is a little bit weird is that, you know, the ankles down here, they kind of, the pivot, there's not a lot of pivot down there because, you know, you have a piston towards the right side of the leg, and then you also have some different little like, I don't know what to call them, different little armor pieces that come down onto the leg that kind of, you know, mess up some of that a little bit, but it still poses great. Like, you really will not have any issue getting this figure into any dynamic pose that you want. And it also has a great center of gravity. The legs aren't too tall, so it's not going to just fall over as soon as you stand it up. It is a very sturdy piece, and it looks fantastic. I'm sitting over here thinking that, you know, how are they going to make Ironmonger, how are they going to make the colors translate without making the gray look dull and marble-ish? They really did get the coats of paint on this figure just right. So let me turn that off. As you can see there, that looks a lot better. You can see how they just kind of made that gray just pop a little bit more, and it does contrast very well with the Mark III, as you can see right there. Yeah, looking very great. And then Obadiah back there, he is a bonus. He is not what people are going to buy this set for. People probably aren't going to buy it just for the Jeff Bridges head. But one thing I will say about this Obadiah is it is on the Nick Fury 2019 Captain Marvel body mold. So it is like Chameleon, except better, because, you know, the problem with the Chameleon body is really the ankles and the feet. Since the Chameleon body is kind of squished, it's hard to describe, but the Chameleon body is short, it's on the shorter side. So, you know, you have these ankles down here, and then you have the pants, and then you can't really make these shoes, you can't really make the ankles move because, like, the joint is so close to the pants, like the bottom of the pants. So you have issues moving the feet around, and you can't really get them to move up and down like that. The good thing about the 2019 Captain Marvel Nick Fury body mold is that it is like Chameleon, except it is just, I don't want to say dilated because it's not necessarily bigger, but it is taller. It's taller and it's more lean, so you have more space to account for some more articulation. It has great leg movement right there. It's hard to see because of this Iron Man right here, but I kind of have my Obadiah, as you can see there, in like a walking pose, and you can see has great center of gravity, great everything, and it looks fantastic. But I also am not against just a completely new pinless body mold. But for now, that's okay. Obadiah Stane, great figure. Is this set worth $70 though? That depends. One thing I can say for sure is that this Ironmonger is definitely worth $50, but the issue with some people is that, you know, you just want the Ironmonger separate. You don't really want the Obadiah. You don't really need that character unless you're like a completionist. So, you know, you just kind of don't want to spend close to $80 on one figure that you want, but then you're kind of spending another $20 plus a premium on another figure that you don't want. So that can be kind of where the issue arises with the price and everything. But one thing I can say is that this Ironmonger is definitely worth $50. It's a $50 figure, first of all. It's not just Hulk size. It's taller than Hulk. It's bigger. It has some more detail, has some more articulation. Well, I don't know about the articulation part, but it's definitely very well articulated for what it is, and it is very, very impressive. So let me see if I can try to get that all into one shot for you right there. Yeah, as you can see. Look at him right there. I have this Obadiah on like 4 inches taller, and as you can see, he still just comes around right at Ironmonger's head, which is very crazy. That Ironmonger is a super beast of a figure. Very impressive. And there he is next to Mark III right there. Two very fantastic figures. I give the Ironmonger and Obadiah set, scale 1 to 10, I'd give it a solid 8. Magnificent. Magnificent. Alright, next up, we're talking about Happy and Midas. So these two are kind of hard to see. I have them in different spots up here. I have my Midas all the way in the back, and I have my Happy. This is a Target exclusive set. Costs around $52.99. I paid $49.99 for it because I pre-ordered it on the first day. It was a bit cheaper then, and then sometime over the summer they kind of pushed the price up by $3. So now it's about $52 USD. And a lot of people are angry at this set, or just indifferent to it, because they feel like Happy is not necessarily, neither of these are necessarily figures that we kind of need right now at the moment. Like, we could definitely have done without these, seems to be the rationale of a lot of people. And while that may be true, I'm not angry at it, because I just love world building. You world build around your Iron Man figures. You gotta get your Happy, you gotta get your Rhodey, you gotta get your Pepper, you gotta get all these figures. At some point, Happy was gonna come down. I'm not mad that he necessarily came before, say, a new 2012 Avengers Hulk, or a new Endgame Captain America, or a new Nebula, or something like that. I'm not mad at that, because this set is very good. Happy is a very good figure as well. He does share that chameleon kind of DNA, but he does have completely new legs, and he has kind of Chameleon's torso and everything, but it's dilated a little bit, so it's a bit thicker, you know, kind of fits Jon Favreau's frame a little bit better, and it looks super good standing next to Tony right there. As you can see, look, they just look like best buds, right? I kind of have Happy hand on his shoulder taking a phone call, and Tony just right next to him, you know, just boys like that. Dudes in suits right there looking super cool, standing right above them. And Midas is not bad at all. He actually, it's a figure that uses the Mark 7 body mold from the 10th anniversary line. And I'm not mad at it, because that body mold is fire. That body mold is really, really good. And I'm trying to move you guys over here to get a little bit of a better look. Alright. And a lot of the preliminary shots on Midas make him look like a little bit bland. It makes the gold look a little bit muted, and it kind of just makes it look like a dull figure. But one thing I can say is, you get this figure up against the right light, you get it in person, it looks amazing. Believe me, this gold is a lot more vibrant than it looks to be right now. It is definitely a lot creamier as well. It is a lot more, how I say, it doesn't look boring. It's very interesting to look at. You have these Iron Man 3 suits. They'll have their very different, interesting color schemes. Like, as you can see right below Midas, we got his brother right there. This is Mark 27, I think, or Mark 28 Disco. And then over there you have Mark 20-something Hot Rod. And yeah, so Midas is just another one to add to that. If you are world building your Hall of Armor, Midas is definitely a welcome addition to that, because he adds a lot. He's a very simple figure. It's just Iron Man gold, but it does do very much in terms of adding some variety to your Iron Man section. Because, you know, in your Iron Man section, you got a bunch of red, you got a bunch of different, you know, I mean, you don't really have a lot of different colors over here. You just got a bunch of red, you know. It's good to see some all gold Iron Man. You know, you have your Iron Man with your gold accents, but an all gold Iron Man, that's bound to stick out onto your shelf. So I have him standing up there next to Mandarin and right next to Iron Man Mark III, and he looks super good. Cannot wait to army build some more of those Iron Man figures. Whenever Hasbro just decides to push more out, you know, I'll definitely get more of them. Get a nice Iron Man armor section going on back there. I do not have enough space in my Iron Man section to get those pods for a Hall of Armor setup, but I definitely can just put a bunch of my Iron Man on stands and just have them back there like that. So looking super duper cool. So yeah, those are the Iron Man characters from this line, ladies and gentlemen. As I said, Hasbro, they do Iron Man a lot. Nobody is denying that they do Iron Man a lot, but they're definitely getting a lot better at it. The Happy and Midas set, I will give, on a scale of 1 to 10, I'd give it a 7. There's nothing necessarily wrong with it. It can be, maybe it's just a little bit uninspiring, because, you know, you kind of just have a dude in a suit and then you have another Iron Man, but it's not a bad set. And it's definitely, it can be rated on a scale of 1 to 10. You can give it an 8. That's just, you know, my thoughts on it, because, you know, Midas is kind of one of those armors, you kind of want some more around it to army build your Iron Man armor section. But, you know, if that's the plan, if Hasbro's just planning to slowly but surely push out all of these different Iron Man armors, then I'm not necessarily mad at it. So, yeah. You got your Midas over there, you have your Iron Man Mark III, and you have your Iron Monger. Those are the 3 Iron Man sets that they gave us. Those 3 sets specifically to Iron Man. So those are the Iron Man characters, ladies and gentlemen, from the Infinity Saga line. Now we're going to be moving on just a small trip down to the left, or down to the right, my bad, to Quicksilver. So Pietro right here. Let me try to get you guys a good look at him. Alright. Okay, so Pietro Maximoff. This is a figure that people have been asking for years. Like, literally years. Ever since 2015. Age of Ultron was one of those movies they did like a huge marketing push. Because it's Avengers. It's the second Avengers movie. The first one was a huge hit. Everybody and their mom talked about the Avengers. And now you have a sequel coming out. You can't skimp out on that popularity for that movie. They did a bunch and a bunch and a bunch of figures for Avengers Age of Ultron. The only figures that they didn't really touch on are Pietro Maximoff, Wanda Maximoff, and Iron Man Mark 45. So that's like, people have just been asking to get all of those character appearances for like years. And at some point, people kind of eased off on asking for an Age of Ultron Wanda, because we got some other Wandas down the line. We had a Civil War one, and then we had an Infinity War one. But Pietro was one figure that never really got that MCU treatment, so people have been asking for it for years and years on end. And then Hasbro finally decided, you know what guys, take a trip back, circle it around, and let's go get that Pietro Maximoff done. And they did execute him very well. This figure is another example of 2021 engineering for Hasbro, just done to perfection. He has some great articulation, some great paint apps. He looks very good on your shelf, and you know, he just pops. Like, just standing right over there. I wouldn't necessarily say that he pops, but he's very unique. He's very interesting. I have him right in front of my Ultron back there. I have some of those Ultron bots accessories back there. So yeah, so Pietro, he is the design here, Quicksilver design. He kind of just has his Under Armour shirt, and then he has some nice pants, and then he has the Adidas on, and then he also has the photoreal face sculpt as well with everything going on there. And he comes with a set of interchangeable fists and these two kind of running pose hands, as you can see over there. And that is not necessarily enough for a figure that's going to come in a premium line that you're going to put a $26 price tag on. And Hasbro knew that. So what they did is they threw in 3 different Ultron Bots accessories. They threw in an arm, they threw in a ripped up torso piece, like kind of battle damage, and then they threw in a Ultron Sentry head. And that kind of made it even out the price a little bit. And let me just say that those Ultron Bots accessories, I can kind of see one behind him over there, and you can see one up there, and behind him there's like the head and everything. But they look absolutely phenomenal. Like, the detailing that is on those Ultron Bots pieces, it's magnificent. The only thing where I kind of say where Quicksilver kind of fails is he's boring. And that's not necessarily, I don't mean that in a bad way. I'm not saying that the figure is boring. I'm saying that objectively, compared to some of the other designs you have on the shelf, you have armors with huge back laser cannons, you have huge Hulk busters, you have different dudes with shields with all these different interesting unique character designs. And compared to all that, Quicksilver really is just a guy on your shelf wearing some Adidas and an Under Armour. And unless that's what you were asking for years, you don't super duper need it. And the other thing I will say about it is Hasbro doesn't really revisit Age of Ultron that much. They revisited it 3 years back. That was the last time. And they gave us the new Ultron, they gave us Hulkbuster, and they gave us a Hulk. So they gave us 3 figures back then. But the Avengers cast from that film was not really well, it was fleshed out, but those figures are 6 years old now. Quicksilver standing next to those figures, they're going to start looking bad really fast. So the only thing is that it's just a shame. It's kind of a curse that this Quicksilver figure took so long, because it came out great. It's just that now you kind of have to have him standing next to all these other not so great looking characters now. And that kind of does make this figure kind of seem a little bit isolated a little bit. As you can see, I don't really have him standing next to too many other Avengers. I kind of have him sitting in front of the Civil War people. And that's just because, you know, the Avengers Age of Ultron characters, those figures do not look good enough for me to try to backtrack for. And this Quicksilver figure is not necessarily I said that it's boring. It's not necessarily boring. It's not necessarily uninteresting. It just comes out a little bit flat compared to some other stuff that you have up here. And that kind of does take away some of the excitement for me personally. That's not going to be the same for most people out there. Most people are going to give this figure a 10 out of 10 or a 9 out of 10 or an 8 out of 10. And that is perfectly understandable for me. I am not mad at it. This figure is very good. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it. It's just that it's a little bit unimaginative for me right now, seeing as though we do not really have a proper updated Avengers Age of Ultron cast. And this figure just kind of running solo, if you know what I'm trying to say. So scale 1 to 10, me, Baraka, I'm just going to give this figure a 7. But, you know, I'm not mad at you if you give it a 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10. Whatever that is, some of those high ratings, because it really is deserving of that. And especially if you have some of the older Avengers, you're definitely going to like it a lot better. But, you know, maybe in about, what, like 4 years from now, Hasbro will do a 10th anniversary of Avengers Age of Ultron, and they'll completely revisit that cast of figures. And Quicksilver will be a little bit more at home up here. But for now, he looks good, just standing there right there. Quicksilver 7 out of 10, definitely super great. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, forgive the camera for getting a little bit shaky in this part because I am holding the camera now. I do not have it on the stand. But we're just going to talk about 2 figures over here, and then we're going to move on to the grand finale, which is the Avengers Endgame stuff, which I'm sure is what you guys are waiting for. But if you guys are marathoning this with me right now, you know, let me know in the comments so I know who my true friends are. I'm kidding. You guys are all great. And I'm not mad at you because I'm sure that, what are we in, like 30 minutes now? I'm kind of just, you know, estimating based off of the math of all these different video clips I've put together so far. I feel like we're something around 30 minutes and we're only about halfway through. We're about 4 out of 9. So we're a little bit over halfway through. But, or a little bit under halfway through. But we're going to be talking about Odin now. So Odin, the, what is he? Like, the third... Do we have any figures? Oh, okay, no. They did do, like, a 5-inch scale line for Thor. The Thor 1 movie back in the day. But that was a really long time ago. So Odin is, like, the only figure we have from the Thor 1 movie that kind of came out with the updated Hasbro. Because I don't even think with any of these specialty programs or lines that they've revisited Thor 2010? Or Thor 2011. I don't think that they've ever really revisited Thor 2011 up until this Odin figure. So, yeah, he's just up there, and he looks great, though. Like, absolutely phenomenal. This figure is just magnificent. He's everything that I imagined it to be. He is very regal looking. He definitely does kind of execute some of that king look. King of a sort of... I don't want to really say... King of a sort of mythical race, sort of mythical civilization. He definitely does give that look with the horns and everything. He has some of that gold going on, and he looks super, super cool. I kind of have him standing above some of my Thor characters right here, so you have Odin at the top there. He just looks great. So he only comes with about Gungnir, 1 interchangeable Anthony Hopkins head, and some other accessories with fists and everything. And that is absolutely fine. Odin is one figure I did not think we'd be getting for a long time. Actually, no. Odin is one figure I did not think that we'd be getting point blank, period. But then back in, I think it was April, I saw the rumor listing for an Odin. And I'm just like, whoa. MCU Odin, really? I know that a lot of people have been using the comic Odin, the Allfather, as their sort of MCU Odin, kind of as like a stand-in. I mean, it kinda. No, it does not look like Anthony Hopkins. That was about to be a straight up lie. It does not really look like MCU Odin, but you know, you gotta do what you gotta do out here. But they finally provided us with a new Odin, or our first MCU Odin, and he looks super cool. I really like that. I like some of the colors on him. He has some great articulation. Only thing about him that prevents me from giving him an absolute 10 out of 10, because there's nothing to complain about him for. The only thing that prevents me from giving him a 10 out of 10 is the plastic cape. And that's one thing. You guys know this about me. I've always talked about plastic capes, and you guys know how much I hate them. It's just, I really do not like them. But one thing I will say about this Odin is that this plastic cape, Hasbro has gotten a lot better at doing plastic capes over the past couple of years, because now they've actually sort of kind of tried to sculpt them so that they look cool instead of just making them look like, you know, plastic trash standing behind your figure, inhibiting, you know, some of the articulation that would be better expressed with a cloth cape. But they did sculpt this cape really well. It looks very good. It looks very regal. And just standing right there, that looks intimidating. Like, I can't complain about it. So that's very good too. And Anthony Hopkins, I can 100% see it in the face. He has his scar around his eye right there. It's a little bit harder to see. But he has the scar at the eye, as you can see there, around his left eye. And then he also has the eye patch. So definitely looking super, super king-like Odin. And I have him standing in front of his one daughter, Odin's daughter, Hela, and his two sons down here. And he just looks super cool. So Hasbro, if you ever want to get around to making a Frigga, Renee Russo, you know, wouldn't be mad at it. I could probably try to squeeze her in somewhere around here. But yeah, Odin, just right there. Scale 1 to 10, I give him a 9.5. He's super good. That cloth cape, that plastic cape would almost bring him down to a 9. But since it is sculpted well, since it is, you know, since it looks good, I can't really give him anything lower than a 9. So 9.5 for me. He is absolutely magnificent, and I cannot really complain about him. Let's get some more Thor 1 characters, guys. Let's get a, perhaps a Thor 1 Loki. Let's get a Thor 1, let's get a Destroyer, actually. Yeah, Destroyer, that'd be super cool. That guy would go, like, right there. That'd be awesome. Yeah, so just Odin right there, looking super cool. And then the biggest figure I have up here, the tallest at least. I don't know about the biggest. Maybe in terms of, you know, plastic use, he's not the biggest. But the tallest for sure. Surtur over here, looking super menacing. Looking like just a super bad guy with his horns. He's all on fire. He's lit up and everything. Surtur looks super cool. And he is super cool. One thing I will say about him, though, is he's gummy in a lot of places, like down towards the legs. He's a little bit gummier down there, and he's also hollow. You know, he does not have a lot of plastic going into the chest. And that does help with some of the translucency that's going on with him. Because if I turn off my... Let me try to turn on to some blue here. You can kind of see how some of that lights up. And if I turn off my lights, I'd probably have to do that at the end. Or I might have to do that another time. But if I turn off the lights, you can kind of see. You'll see some of that going through him. He looks really cool, though. Yeah, you can kind of see with some of that darker colors, some of those darker colors going up in there. You can kind of see how that sort of pops. Very menacing. About 13 inches tall. Whole lot of red, whole lot of orange going on this guy, and he really does look like he's on fire. The sculpting detailing on him is very impressive, and his sword is huge. Like, it's just like a gigantic sword. Like, let's just have it over here. You see some of these Shang-Chi figures? Look at that sword, man. That literally scales across all of them. You have Captain America back here. He can hide behind the sword. That is crazy. So yeah, Surtur, super cool looking. Only complaints about him is that he's gummy. He's not very... He has a weird center of gravity. You have to really make sure that you stand him properly because he can fall over. I know that I definitely had to move some of his joints around, and I had to get him into some sort of pose like this so that he wouldn't be falling over. I tried to get him into... I usually kind of have like a mental image of a pose that I want to put a figure into whenever I'm about to put him onto the shelf. I wasn't really able to execute that with this Surtur because of, you know, just the proportions going on here. And since he's hollow on the inside, he doesn't really hold himself up too well. You have to kind of pose around the figure in order to truly get him into some of those poses that you want. And you might have to have him lean against something from time to time. And definitely do not try to put this figure into the sunlight or keep it too hot, because he already comes gummy due to the joints. He already, like, you know, kind of just arrives like that out of the package. And so heating him up and everything like that, he'll just never be able to stand at that point if you get his joints too loose. So definitely be careful with that. But other than that, he looks super great. Like, look at him just standing there looking menacing right there. Pinless as well. Just like Odin, just like Quicksilver, just like Iron Man Mark III, just like Obadiah. Completely pinless and super duper tall. You can kind of just see him standing above the characters like that. Like, look at him. Dude is super tall. You got Thanos sitting up back here. Thanos is about 8 inches off of the base of this shelf, and he just comes just right up to his horns, or his crown, actually. That's a crown, those aren't horns. Or a big eyebrow. right there. It's looking super cool. Surtur, scale of 1 to 10, I'd give him an 8. Alright, so now we're moving on to the endgame characters. So those are your two kind of more cosmic-y characters from this whole line. Now we're going to move into the endgame stuff for the big finale, and then I'll kind of touch up on Infinity War Captain America at the end. Alright, so out of the Infinity Saga, we have 3 Avengers Endgame sets. We have 1 single pack, and then we have 2 2-packs. So we have Thor, Fat Thor, Mighty Thor, Warrior Thor, whatever you want to call him. And then we have Iron Man vs. Thanos, and then we have Happy and Rescue, which is an Amazon exclusive set. So, let's talk about Thor, the God of Thunder first. So as you can see here, Thor is a very, very cool looking figure. Like, just look at him right there. This is one that people have been asking for like, forever. And, I can't really necessarily say that I was one of them. I want to say that I would have preferred a completely new Infinity War Thor over this one, because the one that we had before that was kind of inaccurate and everything. But one thing I can say is that this Thor figure, it's magnificent. It's very, very, very well designed. It is proportioned well. It's built correctly. It has some great detailing, some great paint apps. They made the red and the black contrast really well. They didn't use too bright a red. They didn't use too like light a black or a gray. They made it look just right. And my camera doesn't not really do this figure justice, guys. It is absolutely phenomenal. So, touching up on him, he comes with how many accessories? Like 8, 6, something like that. He comes with a lot of stuff. He comes with the Stormbreaker, he comes with Mjolnir, he comes with 2 lightning effects instead of just Infinity War Thor's 1. He comes with 2 lightning effects, and then he also comes with some open hands, and then he comes with the closed hands, and that's just about everything that he comes with. And it's all great. A lot of people, or some people, are complaining about, you know, maybe he should have come with the powered down eyes face sculpt or something like that. Maybe he should have come with an interchangeable face so you can kind of have Thor just with the regular eyes and everything. Maybe he should have... Some people wish that he didn't come with the powered up Mjolnir or powered up Stormbreaker. I'm not one of those people, because as you guys know about me, I usually like to pose my figures in some of these more action poses like this. And while more display options always does make a figure better, and I'll talk about that when we talk about the rescue that came out of this line, I am 100% satisfied with what Hasbro delivered with this figure. I'm about 2 years waiting for this figure, so not as long as Quicksilver. Quicksilver, we had to wait about another 2 years, multiply that times 3. But this figure, we had to wait 2 years, and I gotta say, it was very well worth the wait. 100% pinless, some great sculpting. Again, only thing that drags this figure down for me is the plastic cape. But no, at the same time, this plastic cape is very well sculpted. And they also painted it very well. I can't really pull the figure down to show you guys the back. But one thing I will say is that it does have a lot of detailed sculpt on the back of the cape. So it does kind of make the cape look like it's hanging and, you know, kind of just floating naturally. And I really do respect that about it. I respect that even though for some reason they can't do cloth on a lot of their Marvel Legends capes, which I don't super duper understand. They've done cloth before, especially with, you know, Storm and stuff like that. They've done cloth before, so I don't really understand why they choose to go plastic every single time. Maybe it just saves money. Maybe just they don't like it, but, you know, it does sort of work for this figure. It just kind of does end up, you know, inhibiting some of that sculpt, some of the articulation back there. But Thor, Fat Thor, isn't really a figure that you want to get into some of those super duper dynamic poses, because, you know, he's a big guy. He's not as agile. He's not as kind of, how I say, not necessarily fit, but also that he's not as athletic as he used to be. So he's not going to be in some super crazy dynamic poses like that. He's just going to be just about standing there or flying, just looking super menacing like this. But I also really do like that. I like how you got the lightning accessories going on there. He looks super cool with that going on. And I really do respect it. So we got some of that great detailing right there. Some great paint apps. And I like how the arms, it's like black, but they've also made it very shiny as well. You can kind of see some light reflecting off of it, and I really do like that about it as well. And also his little, I don't even know what those are. I don't know what they call them. If somebody could tell me in the comments, what are those 6 little things on Thor's chest, those 6 orbs right there? What are those? But they did definitely make those very, very, very good looking. They made them shiny as well. You can see some light reflecting off of that, and I like that as well. I like that this figure isn't dull looking. And even if you did want to, you know, people could customize, maybe put some more lightning effects onto the chest, maybe hit it with a dull coat if they don't really like the shininess. But one thing I can say is that the shininess, I like how it looks. It works for me. So it might not work for a lot of people, but I definitely do like it. Scale 1 to 10, I'd give Fat Thor a solid 9. Yeah, he's a super great figure. Super great articulation, super great everything. And even though, again, plastic cape, I don't like those. But even though that figure does have that, it is sculpted very well, just like his father, Odin. So I can't be too mad at it. Great Thor looking figure, and great Hemsworth face sculpt. Let me just touch on that really quickly. Look at that, bro. That looks super duper cool. Like, whoa. That man just, he's ready. He is ready for war. He is ready to kill Thanos. I'm not messing around. I will kill you. That is the look he has on his face right there. You know, mess with me, you're gonna regret it. So yeah, Thor looking super duper cool. And yeah, so moving on to, let's talk about, who should we talk about next? Perhaps, let me talk about Captain Marvel and Rescue next. Alright, so, she's shaking a little bit on her stand, but that's because I just kind of had to pull her sash down a little bit to make it look a little bit more natural. This 2-pack is one that pleasantly surprised me. Well, actually, no. It's one that I was anticipating for a while, because this was kind of the one that I was not expecting them to announce. I was not expecting it to be this. I was expecting them, when I saw a listing for a rumored endgame set out of the Infinity Saga, I'm just like, $52? I'm thinking something along the lines of maybe a Hulk and a Rocket, or maybe a Nebula and somebody else. I was not expecting to get another Rescue and an Endgame Captain Marvel, because, you know, Hasbro has done a lot of MCU Captain Marvels. Like, I have, like, 4 standing next to each other on the right side of my shelf in the Captain Marvel section. That's a lot. So I was definitely not expecting them to do another one. But this figure has blown me away with how good it is. Like, I've really enjoyed posing it so much. I love the colors. I love everything about it. And, like, it is mainly a repaint of the old figure, but that just shows how far paint can go in making a figure look different. Because I did not think that this figure, I'd have as much fun just looking at it as I do right now. Like, it looks so good. I love how the blue and the reds contrast. I like the red that they used. It's not a dull red. It looks very shiny. The blue is very shiny as well. And it's just, it looks phenomenal. Like, Mayfex, they announced that they're doing another Captain Marvel, or their first Captain Marvel, the first Endgame Captain Marvel. Sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. Let me try to get some of this natural light up going on in here so you can see that figure a little bit better. Yeah, alright, so let me get some of the, not natural light, this camera light going up in here. You can see how some of those blues pop a little bit more. But Mayfex announced that they're doing another Captain Marvel for Avengers Endgame. They're doing their first run at her. I think it's, what is it, like, coming out in June next year? And it's definitely going to come out later than that. But, ladies and gentlemen, you do not need that. Unless you are a Mayfex completionist, which most people who watch my channel aren't. I'm sure that actually 100% of people who watch my channel aren't. But yeah, Mayfex announced one that's like, what, like $100, something around there. Do not get that. This Captain Marvel is perfectly fine. It's actually very, very, very magnificent. It is better than any Captain Marvel that you really ever need. You do not need to backtrack for those old Captain Marvels. As you guys know, up until now, if you've kind of seen a lot of my videos, I've kind of used the binary Captain Marvel as a stand-in for the Endgame one. And for a while, I thought that it was just fine. I didn't even think that I needed an Endgame Captain Marvel. But having this figure now, it's just, I don't know, my mind is completely changed. And it is let's like surprise me with how much I've been enjoying it. As you can see, I have some of those binary Captain Marvel effects on the arms. They pop in, they fit on, they look super great on her. And I just love the colors. Like, I just love looking at this thing. It's just, every single time I look at it, it puts a smile on my face. You got the gold trim right here on the star. You have that mixing with the blue, and then you have the red just right below that, and then you have these little separate blue lines going along the legs and everything along the arms. It looks great. And that Brie Larson face up there, that does look a lot better in person, believe me. These preliminary shots, they do not do the figure justice a lot of the times. It looks super great. So that Captain Marvel, very, very pleased with that one. Like, unexpectedly good for me. And I just love posing it around, man. As you can see, I kind of have her in a sort of powered up pose, just ready to fight. My bad, ladies and gentlemen, I kind of kicked the stand. Have her in a powered up pose, just ready to fight, but, bro, magnificent figure. You definitely, well, actually, I think it's sold out on Amazon right now. It's an Amazon exclusive, but you definitely need it, because, you know, you just gotta have this figure. Like, it just looks so good sitting next to your endgame characters. It'll do just that much different for you. And let me just say that this is my favorite Captain Marvel design. This figure has made this costume one of my favorite Marvel costumes, period. Because, like, I really, in Endgame, you know, that final battle, you don't really get to appreciate a lot of the character costumes because, you know, it's kind of an ugly battle. It has, you know, the colors are kind of tuned down, and you don't really have some great saturation to kind of appreciate some of the colors of these suits. But this figure does give you sort of that 3D view of the suit in a very, 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 very natural sense, and you start to appreciate the costume a lot better. So I definitely like the costume more now because of this figure and just the way that it looks sitting next to all these different Avengers. Like this, it's a zoom out. Just look at her standing next to your Thor, standing next to your Hulk and everything. Like, you cannot tell me that that does not look great right there. Yeah, I definitely dig that. That is awesome. And her 2-pack counterpart in this set is Rescue. So Rescue is one figure that I was not expecting them to announce, but once they did, I was super looking forward to it, because I know that I've always, one thing I love about, you know, the Iron Man armors, especially going down the line towards Avengers Infinity War and Avengers Endgame, is kind of just the versatility with a lot of the weapons that you see. You start to see a lot more of these hind cannons and everything like that, a lot more of these different things that just pop out of the armor that make it super unique and super interesting. And with this Rescue figure, Hasbro really did go all out with the display options. One thing you guys can take away from me, if my channel gets shut down tomorrow and I no longer post videos anymore, take away this one quote: more display options always makes the figure better, 100% of the time. It does not matter if you're going to have the figure standing there just looking basic. More display options always makes a figure better, 100% of the time. Every single time a separate interchangeable head, or some more interchangeable hands, or some more hind cannons, some more accessories, some more fists, some more blasts, every single time it will make the figure better. Believe me. Like, write that down in a book somewhere. Because this Rescue, even though it is a repaint of the old one, it has so many different versatile display options for you to choose from. I am sort of like in love with the variety that you can put into the poses on this thing. Because you have, along with these hind laser cannons, you have 3 separate faces. You have one unmasked Pepper Potts face, you have one face with the faceplate up where you can see Gwyneth Paltrow, and then you have the fully helmeted thing. You have 2 repulsor blasts, and then, you know, you also have the kind of powered down back cannon thing where you can just attach that onto your back. All those different display options just make me in love with the figures. You can see I've kind of gone all out with my display of her here. I don't even think that she ever was in a sort of pose like this in the movie. She has her face plate up, and she also has her hind cannons out there, back there like that. And let me just say that this figure just looks good. Like, look at they've kind of updated the purple that they used for this figure. On the last one, it was sort of a more, I mean, I don't know anything about the color wheel, but the last one had a different purple. The purple look like this. It's not the same. I cannot really try to, let me try to, yeah, it's hard to get it back there. But this purple is not very movie accurate. As you can see, you can see a lot more marbleization on this figure, especially going around here. You can kind of see how some of that purple kind of tends to look a little bit dull. But that is not the case on this figure. This figure, it looks so vibrant. It looks so great. I love the way that it looks. And they also muted the gold a little bit too. On the last figure, this gold looked like more mustardy gold. It kind of looks a little bit weird. But on this figure, they toned that down a little bit. They made it look so much more movie accurate. That is definitely your endgame final battle rescue. That is the only one that you will ever need. There is absolutely zero need to go back for the old one because this figure comes with everything that that figure did, plus more. So, yeah, you kind of just don't really need the old one anymore. But I love this figure for the hind laser cannons. I love it for the display options, and I love it for some of the more versatility that you can get with these poses up here. And one thing I will say, if there's one complaint I have about it, one thing I will say is that I wish it did come with some repulsor blast hands, so you can kind of have her sort of like shooting repulsors, because right now I have her in these sort of like fist out poses, almost like the blast is coming from her forearms. And you know, that is a little bit weird looking. Maybe I can try to get her into a different pose later on, finesse with that a little bit more. But I can understand why they weren't able to put a repulsor blast on the hands, because as you can see with this rescue figure, she has, you know, these little forearm gauntlet pieces that come out like this over the fist. So you kind of have to completely change the sculpt up in there if you want to be able to get some repulsor blast, you know, kind of some repulsor blast hands going. So I'm not mad at them for not changing that sculpt right there, but that would definitely help push this figure up a lot more. But other than that, this is still a great set. And let me rank these two individually, because it kind of... Actually, no. They're both the same ranking. I give them both a 9 out of 10. Actually, matter of fact, I give the Captain Marvel a 9.5, because that Captain Marvel blew me out of the water, and this rescue looks so good. I'm just completely satisfied with those two. So yeah, Captain Marvel and Rescue set. Try to get it if you do see it in stock, because it is a very good set. I know that you already have these two characters up here, but having them in these designs, believe me, it's very different. So yeah, definitely try to get those two. Give that set a 9 out of 10. I gave the Thor set a 9 out of 10 too. Now, we're going to move on to probably the most anticipated set for a lot of people, which is Iron Man vs. Thanos. Whew! Okay, what are we like? We're like 8 out of 9 now. We only have 9 to go through, but I will kind of touch on Captain America at the end. But, so, okay. Iron Man vs. Thanos 2-pack. This is a set that people have been asking for ever since 2019, because, you know, you kind of have... It's Avengers Endgame. It's the most popular movie. It's the most popular comic book movie of all time. It is one of the most popular... It was the most successful movie of all time up until, you know, Avatar got a Chinese re-release, I think, and kind of pushed it back down a little bit. But, yeah, so along with that, you know, this is going to be a very popular film. And then you have the two... I don't want to necessarily say the two main characters, but these kind of are the two characters that the whole movie sort of does kind of revolve around. Because these are the two characters. You have the main villain, and then you have the hero who makes a sacrifice play. And that being the case, you have all of these different demographics that would love to get some sort of memorabilia from this movie up here, or onto their collections of movie memorabilia, or onto their shelves of action figures, or, you know, to their kids' hands to play with. So, an Iron Man and Thanos set is definitely going to be a big ask for a lot of people. Me being one of them, because I always did want an updated Iron Man Mark 85, and I always did want a new Final Battle Thanos. And for most people, actually for almost everyone, this set delivers in every single way possible. And that makes a lot of sense, because you have really everything here that most people really need. They have a Tony with the snapping hand, they have a Thanos with his sword, him battle damaged, him with his snapping hand. You got a bunch of these different interchangeable heads, you have a bunch of these different fists, you have a bunch of these different weapons, and that's great. It's just me being the picky guy that I am. I wanted more out of the Iron Man Mark 85, this figure right here. This figure is great, believe me, it's absolutely magnificent. It's just, I think that I only wanted more out of this figure because, you know, all of us collectors, we have some very creative minds, okay? So, we see a rumor listing for a figure, and we see you have a certain set coming out, a lot of us can't help but to create this sort of mental image of what we want the set to look like. So, you know, say that you see a rumor for, say you see a rumor for a Captain Marvel figure coming out. You think in your mind, ooh, we're getting a new Captain Marvel, okay. You start to imagine what you want the character appearance to look like, what you want the suit to look like. You start to imagine what accessories you want it to come with. You start to imagine what sort of head you want it to come with. You start to imagine all of these different things that you want the figure to be packed in with. And then when the figure gets announced and it doesn't have all of the stuff that you were kind of imagining, you get sort of disappointed. It's almost like you set these unrealistic expectations for yourself, and then you get disappointed when they aren't met. Even though there's absolutely no way that Hasbro is going to see, oh, people want this accessory, you want this accessory, okay, we're just going to put all that in there, one-stop shop. No, that's not the way that collecting necessarily works. And a lot of the times, whenever you see something coming out, unless it's a surprise, you're often going to be sort of hit or miss whenever it comes to whenever they announce it, and compared to the mental image that you created for it before it got announced and you saw the pictures. And that's what happened to me with this set. Because what I was imagining in my brain is I wanted this Iron Man to come with every single Iron Man Mark 85 accessory that you ever saw. I wanted him to come with these forearm gauntlets that I put onto him from the Mark 50. I wanted him to come with his nano lightning refocuser coming off the back. I wanted him to come with, you know, just a bunch of different weapons, a bunch of different variety of tools that he used at the end. And he didn't come with that. And I think that that's just kind of what made me sour on this set. Just a little bit. Just a teensy bit. I kind of just do feel a little bit unsatisfied whenever I look at this Iron Man. And that's only because of that mental image that I, again, created for myself. It's a very unhealthy thing that we do as collectors. But again, our imaginative minds, we're the people who out here, because of our minds, we are out here posing these figures. We're out here taking ACBA shots. We can't help but to imagine what we want something that we've been waiting for to look like. And whenever that isn't met, you know, you kind of just get a little bit disappointed. But that is me for that figure. That is my rationale when it comes to Iron Man and his accessories. But one thing I will say about this figure is, unless you are just a picky boy like me, it is going to be absolutely great for you, because it has everything that Iron Man Mark 85 needs. It has the snapping hand, it has two different Tony Stark face sculpts that look just like Robert Downey Jr. Like when I saw the images of that back in May, when I saw the images of the face sculpts, both of them, I'm sitting over here, I'm just like, who cloned Robert Downey Jr. and shrunk him down into 1/12 scale? Yo, can we get the police on this? Because this has to be some illegal crap going on here. This looks just like him. Let me try to get a zoom in onto that face right there. You guys see that? That is ridiculous. Yeah. That is crazy. That looks just like him. Every single time I look at him, I'm just like, how did they do that? And then compare that to 2 years ago, you have this Chris Evans face sculpt down here. This one does not look super good. That doesn't look, I mean, that looks like Endgame Captain America. Like, you won't be confused if you won't confuse somebody if you tell somebody that that's Steve Rogers, but they're not gonna say that it's spot on accurate like how this Robert Downey Jr. is. This is phenomenal. It's great. It looks fantastic. And every single time I look at it, I just start to hear his voice, man. I am Iron Man whenever I look at that face sculpt, because it looks just like him. And touching on the figure separately, again, another thing about Marvel Legends is that, you know, it's a $20 figure. You know, it's going to... Iron Man is a character appearance with a lot of detail on his sculpt, and especially Mark 85 has a lot of detail on this suit. It has a lot of these different paint apps. It has a lot of these different points in which more paint needs to be expressed. So oftentimes you're going to kind of run into an issue when it comes to a budget that you have for a figure and the paint that you can use, and then the sort of requirements that happen to go into making the figure look accurate. So there is some paint missing around the chest. There's supposed to be some blue dots around here, some little tiny arc reactors going around in here and here. They kind of made it pop, or they kind of managed to get one of those arc reactor pieces onto the chest. a little bit. It's harder to see because my camera's in like 10x focus. But they did manage to get one of them right around the shoulder, as you can see there. So, or right around the sternum. But yeah, but they did happen to have to skip out on a lot of the paint for further down below the figure and further towards the back because, you know, it's just not within the budget for this set. And with all the accessories that you jam pack in here, I wasn't expecting them to be able to go all out for that paint and stuff like that. That's the reason why I'm not completely satisfied with this Iron Man. It's because of just budgetary restrictions that happen to go into what Hasbro can do in making these figures and making the sort of paint work and all that stuff like that. That happens to be the reason why some of these more complex, some of these more like unique character designs and some of these more vibrant, colorful character designs and sort of detailed ones tend to be the ones that sort of kind of fall flat a little bit when it comes to Hasbro unless they really do their best and go all out, because you just might not happen to have enough budget in order to fully cover all of the different detailings, all the different grays, all the different reds, all the different blues, all of the different little spots and marks on the armor within that price point and still make it look good and still make it do all that different stuff that you need it to do. So yeah, that happens to be where this figure falls flat for me. But it is the perfect endgame Iron Man for you. It has everything that you absolutely need it to have. It has plenty of accessory, it has plenty of everything. It's just me being picky. It did not come with everything that I wanted it to come with, but it does come with definitely enough. And it comes with that huge sword too. That's also really awesome. As you can see, I kind of mixed it with an accessory from Mark 50, so I kind of had to make it look like some sort of weird combination of weapon right there. But I love that about this Iron Man. That is super cool. And that Robert Downey Jr. face sculpt again, ladies and gentlemen. Fantastic. Thanos, this is your final battle endgame Thanos. This is the fifth Thanos, fifth MCU Thanos that they've done for the Marvel Legends line. And is it the best one? Probably. Maybe second best, I don't know. I think I just like this Thanos up here better because I've had it for longer, and that figure just like, you know, I just have like a super great connection to it. But this Thanos up here is definitely the only Thanos you'll ever need, because this set is a set that they kind of created both for the new collector and the collector that wants an updated version of these character designs. The new collector will get their endgame Iron Man and their endgame Thanos, two very popular character designs from the MCU, all in one set, and they'll get absolutely everything that they need from them. The new collector will probably, most likely, not need another Iron Man after this, besides the Mark III, of course, and another Thanos after this, of course, because this set comes with everything that you need for these two characters. You know, you can have your Iron Man just looking like Iron Man, or you can have your Iron Man in an I am Iron Man pose like at the very end of the movie, and then you also can have your Thanos just looking like armored Thanos with everything that he has going on there with his sword and everything, or you can have him like I am inevitable, just about to finish the fight Thanos, just like that. So you have plenty of options with this set. The only thing that people are complaining about with this Thanos is that, you know, the arm, you cannot pop that arm. Well, you can't pop that arm off. He does not come with an interchangeable arm and an interchangeable right arm for posing, just to sort of just look like an armored Thanos on your shelf. He comes with the helmet. He comes with everything else. He just does not come with that right arm without the nano gauntlet. So that's why a lot of people tend to be upset with this set. That's kind of the big complaint. That's not what I'm complaining about, because I was going to have him with the nano gauntlet on the shelf anyway, and that's how I kind of wanted to pose him. But I can see where some of that kind of unsatisfaction comes in, because you're kind of just forced to have that Thanos on your shelf with just the nano gauntlet on forever, unless you have the old armored Thanos, in which you can do a bunch of kit bashing and you can sort of get it to look just like Thanos at the start of the fight. I believe the way that you can do that is you pop off his right arm, you pop on that armored Thanos right arm, and then for the left arm, if you really want to have that one shoulder piece going on onto the left shoulder, Then you pop off the arm on that old armored Thanos. You heat up the forearm. You pop off the forearm that has the Infinity Gauntlet on it. And then you heat up this forearm. And then you pop off that. And then you pop that forearm onto the old armored Thanos forearm. Do it like that. That fits in there. And then you can pop that on back onto this figure. And then you have the helmet on there. And then you'll have your completely armored up Final Battle armored Thanos. And if you have the dedication and you have the time to do all that kit bashing, then that's great for you, because you have a way to get to that point. But I can understand that a lot of people are just a little bit disappointed in the fact that you kind of have to have 2 figures in order to make the perfect one that you want. And you kind of sort of don't have a way around that unless you are kit bashing with hot water and a hair dryer and you have a bunch of time to do all that stuff, which most people don't, so I can understand that. But that's not my issue with it, because I love just having it posed like this, with no helmet on, with his sword and everything, looking super cool, standing above your Avengers, just looking like a bad guy. Looking like a straight up villain, so I am not mad at it. This set is one that is going to hit for most people, most everybody. This is probably going to be most people's favorite set out of the line, and that makes a lot of sense. This is a great set, most anticipated set for a lot of people, and it is definitely going to hit for almost everybody. It just didn't hit for me because of the Iron Man, but I still do love this set a lot, because it comes with some great... It comes with 2 main pieces that you kind of need for your shelf, and I know that once I do sort of replace this Iron Man with maybe the Mafex version, I'll still have this Iron Man up onto the shelf. Maybe he'll be in the Iron Man pose, because, you know, at that point, the armor's a little bit more battle damage, doesn't have all the lights on and everything. The colors can be a bit more muted at that point, at which point I can kind of just sort of set that up and have that with that fantastic Robert Downey Jr. face sculpt on there, just looking cool like that. And then I can have the Mafex version where this one is. But this armored Thanos is a fantastic Thanos. Great. Phenomenal. The only thing I kind of wish that this Thanos did have was sort of more arm articulation on the left arm, because the pose that I wanted to put him into was the pose in which, you guys remember, right after all the heroes came through the portal and Captain America says Avengers Assemble, they start the charge. Thanos kind of points his sword up, and then he starts like his army starts charging up at him, just like, you know, go get him, you know, with that sword pointing up pose, aiming straight at the Avengers. That's the pose that I wanted to put him into, but because Thanos is just, you know, such a big guy, and you don't have enough, you know, wrist hinge in order to get him into that pose, I wasn't able to fully execute that. And maybe I will kind of change up the pose on this Thanos sometime later down the line. But for now, I do love the way that looks. And let me just say that on all of the Thanoses, the Josh Brolin face sculpt is magnificent. So yeah, once again, let me go through the rating for all 3 of these sets, because these are probably the 3 most popular sets out of anybody for this line. Well, besides maybe the Rescue and Captain Marvel. But they should be. But, yeah. So Thor gets a 9 out of 10. I'll give the Rescue and Captain Marvel set a 9.2 out of 10. A 9.3 out of 10. Just because it's really blown me away with how much I like it. And I'll give Iron Man vs. Thanos an 8 out of 10. Most people will give it a 10 out of 10. A lot of people will give it a 9 out of 10. I'm not mad at that. It's just I wasn't fully satisfied with it, so I'm giving it an 8. But, you know, if you were, that's great. Oh, and let me just say, ranking these 2 figures individually again, because I feel like I've changed my rating, I'll rate this Captain Marvel a 10 out of 10, and I'd rate Rescue a 9. Because, guys, this Captain Marvel, believe me, it really is phenomenal. Like, I'm really just sitting here, and every single time I just look over at it, I'm just like, man, I can't believe I have that on my shelf, bro. That just looks great. Alright, well, ladies and gentlemen, that is my coverage of the Infinity Saga line. Hold on. Let me bring out so, of course, Walmart, or as I like to call Walmart, the golden anus, because you guys look at Walmart's logo. Tell me that it does not look like a butthole, but Walmart has refused to ship my Captain America to me at the proper time. So again, I will create a separate video for that whenever that figure comes to me. But I will try to give a sort of mini review on that Captain America based off the things that I know about it, using this figure as a basis. So, the new Captain America has new arms, completely new pinless arms. This Captain America was not able to, or with the concept art that they were given, they were not able to execute a forearm with this sort of wristband thingy that he has on this arm, sort of glove on this hand. So the new Captain America has this wrist, forearm thingy, whatever you call it, glove on both sides of the arms. New pinless double jointed arms as well. Same legs, same torso, 2 new face sculpts, and 1 powered down Wakandan shield, and 1 powered up Wakandan shield. So, and also a different coat of paint around the blue, which is why we're gonna probably need that Captain America in person in order to see what that blue looks like, because a lot of people are saying that that blue looks a little bit too bright, and I will say that those preliminary shots, again, they don't do the figure justice, but perhaps once we get it over here in some natural lighting, we'll see how that blue looks, and it's probably gonna look a lot better that way. But yes, so there is Captain America. So now we've talked I've at least touched on all 10 of the Infinity Saga sets. Now it's time to wrap this video up. Alright, so the Infinity Saga 2021 program is an excellent program, ladies and gentlemen. The fall program is always one of my favorite things of the year as a collector, because you get Hasbro, they never miss out on the opportunity to revisit some movies, get some great, accurate character likenesses out there, get some more character interpretations, get some different character suits, get some more characters that we've never seen before, and just do some great things for world building in terms of a bunch of these different designs and characters up onto your shelf. So that's why I love it. It's great every single time. I feel like the first one that they started off with, that was the Marvel Studios 10th anniversary, and then next year, 2019, they did Marvel 80th anniversary, and then after that they did X-Men 20th anniversary, and this year it's an Infinity Saga. And my favorite out of all of them is the Infinity Saga, of course. Marvel 10th anniversary comes close, but Infinity Saga is just because on top of all of the new, figures that we get, it also comes with some of that 2021 Hasbro engineering with the pinless joints, prime face sculpts, some magnificent likenesses, and some great paint applications, some great sculpting, some great detailing. It's everything that the 10th anniversary line was, except you just amplify that by about, 1,000, because you have all these different new techniques and technology that Hasbro's using to just make these figures so much better than what they were 3 years ago. This is definitely my favorite fall program. Scale of 1 to 10, I'd give the whole Infinity Saga line a 9 out of 10. And I hope that they continue it later on, because there are a bunch of character appearances that we do not have out of the MCU. It's just such a rich universe. 13 years running, we have a bunch of these different character designs, and they have a bunch that they still haven't touched on yet. Of course, I have already made my Infinity Saga wishlist videos. Those are both super long videos, not as long as this one. This is definitely going to be my longest video ever, and if you are still here listening to me talk, I have no idea how you're doing it. I'm going to try to put some ads into this video so that you can I tried to put some ads in this video to sort of break up some of the monotony of me talking, because apparently, if you listen to me talk for longer than an hour consecutive, your mind might explode. It's been just, clinically diagnosed for a lot of people. But, yeah. So, here we go with 9 out of the 10 boxes, plus John Walker Captain America. Don't really mind that. If you want me to rank all of these, yeah, okay. Captain Marvel and Rescue Armor is my favorite one. Then Iron Man Mark III, then Thor, and then after that comes Odin, and then Quicksilver, and then Obadiah, Stane, and Ironmonger, and then Happy, and then, Actually, I think that I completely messed this up. Look, it's hard to tell. Here, let me try one more time. Rescue Armor and Captain Marvel is number 1. Iron Man Mark III is number 2. Infinity Saga Thor is number 3. Then comes Obadiah and Ironmonger after that. And then it's Iron Man Mark 85 and Thanos. Or actually no, after Obadiah, and Ironmonger, then it's Odin. And then it's Mark 85 and Thanos. and then Surtur, and then Happy, and then Quicksilver, and then Captain America Infinity War at the very bottom. For now, just because I don't have him yet, that's a little bit unfair, but you know, that's what it is for now. Ladies and gentlemen, tell me, out of all these sets, which ones are you guys planning to pick up? Which ones are you guys looking forward to out of the most? And did I inspire you guys to pick up any of these now? But my camera battery is about to die. So, always remember to be the best. And thank you so much for watching this with me. If you watched from the very beginning to the very end, leave your name in the comment sections below. If you left it in the very name, if you watched from the very beginning to the very end, all in one sitting, because you are my best friend. Hello, best friend. My name is Baraka. What's your name? And I'll see you all later. Always remember to be the best, and I'll catch y'all next time. Let me go drink some water because, whew, see ya.